For those who don't know, a few months ago, a friend of the channel Popcross Studios created a new series, The Realm of Hopeful Horrors. Similar to SCP or The Backrooms, this series was open source, meaning that anyone can do what they want as long as they give proper credit. This immediately gave me an idea. That idea is not this video. However, I need to justify my constant listening to the Wicked soundtrack, so here we are. So without further ado, on with the show. Also, I hid a bunch of Wicked song titles in the script, see if you can find them all. Realm of Hopeful Horrors, Death 1. Hello, my name's Dorothy Gale, and not to bear the lead, but I'm currently trapped in a strange dimension filled to the brim with random monsters, and well, you'll see. I suppose I should start with how I got here. Basically, I was walking to school with my best friend, Alice. She's from Britain and is basically the exact opposite of me. She's always been shy and organized, while I'm a bit more popular and less on top of things, dancing through life and all that. Either way, we were walking to school when suddenly I felt something grab me and start running away with me. I couldn't quite make out what it was, but it was almost like some furry white tornado. Carrying me, it then ran through what I now think is some magic portal leading me to wherever I am. Eventually, it dropped me on the ground and was about to eat me when it was suddenly scared away by a thin woman in a top hat. She introduced herself as Showtime and welcomed me to the Realm of Hopeful Horrors, which I guess is what this place is. I tried to ask more questions, but she refused to answer most of them, only telling me that I would figure it out. Before she left, she also gave me something odd. It was a collection of rocks covered in strange silver runes. When I touched them, they became a strange pair of shoes, which were surprisingly comfortable despite being made of literal rocks. I once again tried to ask questions, but once again she refused to answer, simply teleporting away and leaving me on my own. Great. After this, I scrounged through my backpack to see if there was anything useful. All that I found that was somewhat useful was this notebook, which I'm currently writing this in. At this point, I was lost. I eventually found a path made of yellow bricks. Thinking that it could lead me somewhere, I began to follow it. However, all I found was that the path was winding, chaotic, and never-ending. Or at least, I didn't live long enough to find an end. Around an hour or so into following the path, I saw something. Something bad. It looked like a large scarecrow with blue diamonds spilling from its stomach, and a view poking out of its chest and limbs. Upon seeing me, the monster immediately began chasing me down. I tried to run, but the scarecrow was much faster. He was able to grab me and, well, bit my head off. Realm of Hopeful Horrors, Death 2. Obviously, I had assumed that it was the end of me. Last time I checked, having your head bitten off your body was quite lethal. However, after this happened, I woke up, at first thinking it had all been a bad dream. However, I then looked around and noticed I was in a strange, bright forest, which, for some reason, was all bright yellow. At this point, I felt a rush of emotion. I don't know exactly what is this feeling, but it was somewhere between existential dread and relief. I got up and continued walking, not entirely sure where I was going, but hopefully trying to find some civilization. However, I wouldn't be living that much longer. As I walked, I noticed something through the trees. Letting my curiosity get the best of me, I got closer to see what it was. And what I saw was horrible. It appeared to be a human, or at least a human-like creature, stuck inside of a metal armor. He had no skin underneath the armor, and with what I could see, his flesh was only exposed muscle. In addition, he had a giant hole in the center of his chest where his heart would be. Remember what happened last time? I tried to slowly sneak away, making sure this tin man couldn't see me. However, as I slowly walked backwards, I failed to see a tree root sticking out from the ground and tripped. The Tin Man heard me, and once again I tried to run. However, the metallic monster then threw his own axe and chopped off both my legs. I tried to crawl away in vain, but the monster then picked me up from my hair before it tore my heart out of my chest. Realm of Hopeful Horrors, Death 3. After having my heart ripped out of my chest, I then woke up to find myself in the strangest area yet. It looked to be a strange jungle, with several of the trees floating on their own and separate plots of land, which seemed to be somehow defying gravity. Obviously, jumping between the floating islands was not the most fun experience of my life, and it got even worse once another monster showed up. This was a large lion-like creature with black fur, spikes, a red bow on its head for some reason, and a pair of creepy mandibles. As soon as it saw me, it viciously roared and began to chase me down, jumping between floating islands. Obviously, I had learned that running was not helpful in dealing with these things, and I also knew that, even if I died, I would just pop up somewhere else. So I decided to stay and fight. I didn't have any weapons on me beside my weird rock shoes. I took one off, and it immediately collapsed back into a pile of rocks. As the creature ran at me, I began throwing the rocks at it. Finding to my surprise that they immediately came back to me. After a bit of this, the creature actually ran away like a coward. I had actually done it. I had survived one of these attacks. After this, I made my way through the rest of the jungle before finally coming across another person. His name was Carlos, and apparently he had been here for almost a year. In his time, he had found a few human settlements, including one nearby. This settlement was hidden within a deep emerald mine, which is led by a man only known as the Wizard. He had led me to the settlement, and upon my arrival, I had to meet with the Wizard, as was tradition for any new members. They brought me to a dark cave where a large green monster, which looked like a weird flaming green head, suddenly appeared. Then the Wizard and I got to talking. To make the long conversation short, he basically said that I could only live in the settlement if I had killed at least one monster. When I admitted that I hadn't, he immediately blasted a plume of green fire and burnt me alive. Realm of Hopeful Horrors, Death 4, 5, 6, and 7. So after being burnt alive, I decided to make it a mission to defeat my first monster. First, I found a strange werewolf monster. It tore me to pieces. I then found a large wasp-like monster. It stung me with acid and boiled me alive from the inside. I then found another settlement, but it was inhabited by these weirdly inhuman creatures, which then proceeded to kill me. Finally, I found a strange monster that looked almost like a monkey, but with several pairs of wings. I tried to fight it, but predictably it picked me up, flew me into the air, and dropped me onto the ground, killing me. At this point, I was getting desperate. After being airdropped by a flying monkey, I woke up near a strange castle with several pieces of it and a nearby landscape floating around it. Thinking that I could at least use it for a shelter that night, I made my way to it. However, upon arriving, I found that the castle was already inhabited. As soon as I arrived, I was forced to dodge a green fireball. It had been shot by a strange humanoid creature with green and black skin. It also looked like a stereotypical witch with a wide-brimmed hat and riding on a broomstick, with both being made of green fire, because why not at this point? The creature began to chase me throughout the castle, and I believed I was done for. That was until I had a random stroke of luck. When I was running for my life, I found a random bucket of water. I thought, hey, since this creature is partially made of fire, I could put it out with the water. And somehow that worked. As soon as I got close, I splashed the creature with the bucket of water, and it immediately began to disintegrate, melting and bubbling until it was nothing but vapors in the air. I had done it. I had killed my first monster. That being said, I was not planning on going back to that weird emerald settlement, even if I could find it again. Something tells me that that wizard is not the sentimental man he claims to be. Besides the horrible southern accent, that was quite fun. If you want me to work with this series again, comment below. But until then, goodbye, and I will remember you all in therapy.